All right, part two: leaking underground storage tank trust fund and its revenue source. And additional taxes with gasoline, diesel fuel, special motor fuel, the fuels with aviation fuels due with the commercial transportation on inland waters, ways, general gasoline tax before amendment of the Tax Reform Act of 1986 in general with Section 4081 Internal Revenue Code of 1986 relating the imposition of the tax gasoline effective the date before the date of the enactment Tax Reform Act of 1986 amendment of the strikeout subsections A and B within service in lieu of the following. In general, there is hereby imposed that the gasoline should be sold by a producer or importer there of any of the producer gasoline tax of the rate specified in subsection B, rate of the tax in general, the rate of the tax imposed with the section, some of the highway trust fund financing rate, leaking underground storage tank trust fund rate financing rate for the purpose of the paragraph of the highway trust fund financing rate 9 cents per gallon on a gallon, leaking underground storage tank trust fund rating financing rate 1/10 of a cent on a gallon, termination of 4081 such code that is in effect with the amendment adding at the end there of the following new subsection. Termination highway trust fund financing rate on and after the October 1st, 1980. The highway trust fund financing rate under the subsection B2A, which will not apply leaking underground storage tank trust fund financing rate in general. Leaking underground storage tank trust fund financing rate under subsection B2B shall not apply with earlier December 31st, 1991, latest day of the termination month. Termination month for the purposes of the subparagraph of the termination month of the worst month of the code of the secretary's estimate of the net revenue with the tax imposed with the section extent of the attributed leaking underground storage tank with the trust fund financing rate under subsection B2B, section 4041D, and section 4042, extent of the attributed leaking underground storage tank financing rate under section 4042B, at least $500 million in net revenue for the purpose of the paragraph of the determined net revenues mean with excess of the gross revenue with over amounts payable to reason the 9508 C2 relating the transfer of the leaking underground storage tank trust fund and certain repayments and credits. Technical amendment subsection C with the 4081 such code such an effect of the striking out of the subsection A with the paragraph of the inserting in lieu of the section B with the striking out the rate with paragraph 2 with the inserting in lieu of the highway trust fund financing rate. Gasoline taxes amendment of the Tax Reform Act of 1986 within general subsection A and B with section 4081 Internal Revenue Code 1986 relating to the imposition of the tax on gasoline amendment of the Tax of the Reform Act 1986 each amendment with the striking out with the 9 cents per gallon inserting in lieu of thereof the rate with the specified subsection D inserting in the tax increase of the tax section 4081 of such code amendment with the Tax Reform Act 1986 amended striking out the subsection inserting in lieu of thereof the following new subsection rate of tax in general the rate of tax imposed with the section sum of the highway trust fund financing rate with the leakage underground storage trust fund financing rate for the purpose of the paragraph highway trust fund financing rate 90% gallon, 9 cents on a gallon leakage underground storage tank trust fund at 1/10 of a cent on a gallon termination highway trust fund financing rate on and after October 1st, 1988 with the highway trust fund financing rate under subsection 82A shall not apply with leaking underground storage tank trust fund financing rate and general leakage underground storage tank trust fund financing rate under subsection D2B shall not apply with the earlier December 31st, 1991, last day of the termination month. The termination month for the purposes of the paragraph A, the termination month of the first month of the code with the secretary estimate of the net revenue of the tax imposed with the section extent of the attributed leak underground storage tank with the trust fund financing rate under subsection D2B, section 4041D, and section 4042. The extent attributed leak underground storage tank financing under section 4042B are at least $500 billion net revenue for the purposes of paragraph B with the revenue means the excess of the gross revenues amount of the payable the reason with the 9508C relating to the transfer of leakage underground storage tank trust fund certain repayments and credits. Technical amendment subsection C with the 4081 such code of the amendment with the Tax Reform Act 1986 with the striking out of the subsection A within 1 inserting in lieu of there of subsection D striking out A rate, paragraph 2 with inserting in lieu of the highway trust fund financing rate, diesel and special motor fuels and aviation, section 4041, relating to tax of special fuels amendment, the redesignated subsection D of the E, subsection E, inserting within subsection C with the following new section, additional taxes fund, leaking underground storage tank trust fund. Liquids other than gasoline, etc., used for the motor vehicle, the motorboats, and train, with addition with the tax imposed in the subsection A, with the hereby imposed with the tax of the tax. A 1/10 of a cent with a per gallon of the benzene, naphthalene, casing, heading, natural gasoline, any other liquid other than kerosene gas or liquefied petroleum fuel oil with any product under section 4081. Solid any person, the owner, lacer, or other operated motor vehicle, motorboat, train, user of the fuel, such motorboat, vehicle, motorboat, or train, use any person in the fuel, motor vehicle, the motorboat, train, unless the other taxable seal with the liquid other than subparagraph A with the liquids of the aviation. In addition with the taxes imposed in subsection 2 of the section 4081, there's hereby an imposed 1/10 of a cent on a gallon in liquid. Any person, the owner, and leaser of the other operative of the aircraft and fuel and such aircraft that use any person fuel with the aircraft on the left. There's been a taxable sale of the liquid under paragraph A with the taxable imposed paragraph shall not apply with the product taxable under section 4081, which is used in fuel with the aircraft of the other in commercial. Non-commercial aviation. Termination of the taxes imposed with the subsection shall not apply during any period of the leaking underground storage tank trust fund financing rate of Section 4081 does not apply. Fuels and commercial transportation in land waterways subsection B 4042 and such code relating amount of the tax and fuel imposed with the commercial transportation inland waterways amendment but there's read with the amount of tax in general rate over the tax imposed with the subsection of its own with the inland waterway trust fund financing rate, liquid underground storage tank trust fund financing rate rates. Purpose of the paragraph 1 inland waterway trust fund financing rate 10%, 10 cents a gallon. Leakage underground storage tank trust fund of 10% on the gallon. Exemption of fuel tax under section 4041D. Leakage underground storage tank trust fund financing rate in paragraph 22B, but it shall not apply to any of the fuel with the tax under 4041D with the imposed of such sale of such fuel imposed on such use. Determination leakage underground storage tank trust and financing rate. Leakage underground storage tank trust fund financing rate under paragraph 2B shall not apply during any of the period during leaking underground storage tank trust fund financing rate in section 4081 does not apply. Additional taxes not transferred to highway trust from fund airport airway trust fund or inland water trust funds. Highway trust fund general subsection B with a 9503 such for the code relating to the highway trust fund amounts equivalent to certain tax amendment with adding the end of the following new paragraph certain additional tax transferred in the highway trust fund purpose of paragraph 1 and 2 with the shell with the make of the tank and account with imposed with section 4041D with some of those taxes imposed on 4081 attributed to the leakage underground storage tank trust fund financing rate conforming to amendment of the subparagraph D with the 9503C4. Such code defining the motorboat fuel taxes amendment with the striking of the 4081 and serving the layer of the 4081 extent attributable to the highway trust fund financing rate airport airway trust fund subsection B and subsection and section 9502 of the code with the relating to transfer airport airway trust fund amount with equivalent to certain taxes amended by striking subsection C and D with section 4041 in paragraph 1 inserting lieu with the subsection C and E with the section 4041 striking out 4081 paragraph 2 with inserting lieu with the 4081 extent with attributed with the highway trust fund financing rate and land water trust fund paragraph 1 section 9506B with the such code and with the adding there over the following new sentence, the preceding sentence shall apply with so much of the taxes attributed with the inland waterway trust fund financing rate under section 4042B. Replacement with gasoline and used on farms, etc. Gasoline used on farms section A with the 6420 with the such code relating to the termination amendment with the striking out with the section inserting lieu with the air except with respect with the tax imposed on section 4081 leaking underground storage tank with the tank trust fund financing rate in section 60. Gasoline used for not certain non-highway purposes of the local transit systems. Termination not to apply additional 10th of a cent tax subsection H for 6421 such code the relating effective the day before day of the enactment of the Tax Reform Act 1986 with the amendment with the striking out of the section inserting lieu thereof with except with respect to the tax imposed with the section 4081 leaking underground storage tank transfer trust fund financing rate section repayment additional tax for the other highway businesses applied with the other certain vessels subsection E4 6421 such code is also in effect with the amendment adding thereof with the following new paragraph section does not apply with certain highway businesses used with respect with the tax imposed section 4081 and leaking underground storage tank trust fund financing rate. This section should not apply with respect to the taxes imposed in 4081 leaking underground storage tying trust fund financing rate on the gasoline used in any of the off-highway business other than the vessel employed with the fishery with the whaling business. Alright, fuels used with non-taxable purposes section M section 6421.7 relating to the termination effect of the date of the enactment of the Tax Reform Act of 1986 with the striking out of the subsections during lieu thereof with except with the respect with the tax imposed in 4041D and section 4081 leaking underground storage tank trust fund financing rate section subsection section 64 is 27 of the code with the effect of the amendment of the redesignation section N and O with inserting after section M with the following new subsection payment of the tax imposed within section 41 4041 for the purpose of the subsection A B C with the taxes imposed within section 4041D shall be treated and imposed within section 4041A subparagraph A with section 1703E1 of the Tax Reform Act 1986 with the striking out with the O inserting the with the O and P, the striking out with an N, inserting their N and O paragraph 1 of the 6427 of the code with the relating with the gasoline produced with a certain alcohol fuel the amendment just striking out at the rate with the inserting lieu with the highway trust fund financing rate to make certain exemption with additional taxes, etc. Subsection section 4041 such code with the relating exemption highway business reduction tax qualified methanol ethanol fuel amendment with adding the end there with the new paragraph coordinated with the tax with the subsection D with the off-way highway business within general except the providing paragraph state to rule that the rules of the paragraph 1 shall apply with the respective tax imposing subsection D limitation exemption with the off-highway business for the purpose of paragraph A with the paragraph 1 shall apply with respect to the off-highway business vessels employed with fishery whaling business qualified methanol ethanol fuel. In the case qualified methanol ethanol fuel subsection shall be applied substituting hundredths of a percent with a 1/10 of a percent in paragraph 1 of thereof. Paragraph 3 of the section 4041F to be code relating the exemption for the farm use is amended with the striking out on and after inserting lieu of they are accepted with respect with the tax imposed with the subsection D on after. The last sentence of section 4041G of the code of the relating with the other exemption amendment with the striking out of the paragraph inserting lieu of they accept with respect with the taxes imposed in subsection D with the paragraph last sentence of the 4221A with the code of the relating certain free tax-free and striking out 4081 inserting lieu of the 4081 highway trust fund financing rate. Alright, so paragraph C with the section 1703C2 with the tax reform at 1986 amendment with the Regis File subsection A with the 4222 and one certain taxable free say as amended inserting section 4081 highway trust fund with the financing rate before 4121 of the last per sentence, striking out 4071 4081 highway trust fund financing rate late this sentence insert over the 4071 paragraph 2 with the 6416 B such code with the amendment with the inserting under paragraph 1A 2 A with the section 4041D after section 4041A. The amendments made in the section shall be taken effect January 1st, 1986. 7. 550, section 522. Leaking underground storage tank trust fund in general subchapter A with the chapter 98 internal revenue code relating establishment trust fund, amending the adding of section 9507 of the following new section. Section 9508. Leaking underground storage tank trust fund, creating with the trust fund established with the Treasury of the United States with the trust fund, but is known with the leaking underground storage trust fund. Consisting of the trust amounts appropriated credited with the trust fund provided in section 9602B, transferring trust fund hereby portion leaking underground storage tank trust fund amendment to equal the tax received by the treasurer under 4041D relating to the additional taxes of motor fuel. Tax received by the treasurer under 4081 relating to taxes of the gasoline sensible to arbitrable leaking underground storage tank trust fund financing rate under this section. Taxes received by the treasurer under 4042 relating on the tax of fuel within commercial transportation inland waterways extend they are attributed to leaking underground storage tank for trust fund funding the rate of this section amounts received by the treasury collect within section 9003H for the solid waste disposal expenditure general that is provided in paragraph 2 with the amount of the leaking underground storage trust fund should be available for appropriate actions on the purpose of making expenditures carry out the section 9003H special water disposal effective the date of the enactment Superfund amendment the Reauthorization Act 1986 transfer trust fund certain repayments credits and general secretary shall pay without any time of the time of leaking underground storage tank trust fund for general fund treasury amounts equivalent to the amount paid under 6420 with the relating amount paid with respect to the gasoline of the form 6421 the relating amount with the paid for the gasoline on certain non-highway for the local transit system. 3. Section 6427 the relating fuel is not under for the taxable purpose credits allowed within section 34 respect with the taxes imposed with the section 4041D and 4081 with the extent of the attributed leak at underground storage tank trust fund financing rate under section 4081 transfer based on estimates transfer of the subparagraph A shall be made with the basis of the estimate of the secretary with the proper adjustment shall be made with the amount subsequently transfer the extent of the priority estimate with except for the less than the amount required to be transferred to liability United States limited to the trust fund with the general rule that any claim against the leaking underground storage tank trust fund may be paid out in such trust fund coordinated with the other provisions nothing in the Comprehensive Environmental Response Compensation Liability Act 1980 the Super Amendment of the Reauthorization Act 1986 and the amendment that may be either in such act for the authorized payment of the United States of the government any amount with respect to any such claim without any sort of leaking underground storage tank trust fund under which the unpaid claims are to be paid if any with the time of the leaking underground storage tank has insufficient funds to pay all the claims of the trust fund at such time and the claims such for the extent of the permitted under paragraph 1 paid in full in order when they are finally determined a critical amendment of the table of the section subchapter A of the chapter 98 of the trust code is amended with the adding the item relating to section 9507 the following new item effective dates amendment of the section shall take effect January 1st 1987 and then part 3 coordinating with other provisions of acts is not on there so this has been a reading of your the act of the Superfund amendment that Reauthorization Act of 1986